Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about feeling inadequate. I know that so many of you probably have already set your goals and your intentions for the new year because we're already halfway through January. But I want to make sure that as you're boldly going after whatever it is that you know you're called to do, that you're also taking the time to see where seeds were planted in your heart of inadequacy and where those thoughts still come up where you're like, can I really do this? Am I really called to this? Like wherever that doubt shows up, I want to make sure that we're addressing that at the beginning of the year and handling those feelings of inadequacy because it can really hinder us from just being confident and walking full force into whatever it is that we're called to do. So let's get into it. So I want to start off this video by telling a story. When I was in grade 4, I had wrote this really good paper. Okay, I can't remember the exact assignment. I think it had something to do with like writing a news article, but I wrote the paper and I was so proud of it. And when I wrote it, I handed it into my teacher and I was really excited to get my mark back. And when I finally got my mark back, it was a D. And I was like, excuse me, a D? So I went to my teacher and I said, why did you give me a D? I worked really hard on this. I don't really understand. And just some backstory, this teacher just did not like me, okay? Like, he really did not like me. And he said, well, I gave you a D because there's no way that you could have wrote this. This paper seems like it was written at a grade 8 level. This paper was really an A++. But because I know that you must have plagiarized this, I gave you a D. And I was like, well, I didn't plagiarize it. Like, where's the proof essentially? Like, you can't just be accusing me of plagiarizing it. And he was like, no, I did. I think you should let this go. I know that you plagiarized it. And that's that. So I was in grade 4. I didn't really think much about going deeper and like really fighting him on it. I just took my L, went back to my seat and sat down. And I remember feeling really sad about that because I knew that I didn't deserve it. And I knew that I didn't plagiarize and I knew that he didn't have any proof. But because I was so young, I didn't really think that I could fight him on it. He was the authority at the time. So I just took my L. And that really affected me my whole life. And I honestly didn't realize how it affected me until the other day I was talking with someone and I was just telling them, you know I'm supposed to be doing this and I'm supposed to be doing that, but I just really struggle with the belief that I can do things on my own. I really struggle with the belief that I have the ability to do things on my own. That just keeps coming up in my mind and I just don't know why, like I just struggle with that belief. And she was like, well, when's the first time that you ever remember feeling like you couldn't do things on your own? And then that instance came up with my grade 4 teacher and I explained it to her and she really helped me to make the connection. Like, that's why you don't believe that you can do things on your own. It's because your grade 4 teacher made you believe that for anything to be done well, you had to have plagiarized it. But the thing that's so interesting about that is I took on this limiting belief that my teacher had about me, even though it wasn't true. I had this limiting belief playing over and over in my mind for years after that if I did anything well, or if I did anything that was exceptional, I had to have done it with the help of someone else, some way, somehow. Even though there were so many instances in my life where I proved myself wrong, there were times where I had jobs I'd been promoted multiple times, and for some reason, I would always have this imposter syndrome show up in my life because of that seed that was planted in grade 4. So I just wanted to share this because I know that I am not the only one that deals with imposter syndrome, that really feels like they don't have the ability, that has all these doubts sometimes. And I want you guys to look back in your life and see maybe where there are seeds of inadequacy that was planted for you. Maybe someone said something along the way that you thought that you were over or you thought didn't affect you, but it really did deep down. So it's so important for us to do that deep dive and take a look because it can hinder us. It can affect us. It can stop us from walking in our calling. And that is truly the plan of the enemy. There are so many instances in scripture where we see that God calls somebody and they say, no, I can't. You know, one of my favorite instances is the story of Gideon, where God calls Gideon to lead the people into war. And he says, you are a valiant warrior, mighty warrior. And Gideon's like, no, not me, but I'm from the weakest tribe. And he was just giving all of these reasons why it couldn't be him, telling God, the creator of him, why he doesn't think that he is worthy of whatever it is that God's called him to. And that's just like so many of us. So this year, I really just want to shed those inadequacies. I want to move forward. I want to just let go of those limiting beliefs. And I feel like every year I'm realizing, hey, this is a limiting belief that you have. Hey, this is a limiting belief that you have. And I'm glad that I'm realizing that about myself, because it's helping me learn to shed them and let them go. I know that sometimes we let our feelings and insecurities dictate what we can and cannot do, but the truth is our feelings should never be in the driver's seat. We really need to trust that the God that created this universe knew exactly what he was doing when he called us. He knew exactly what he was doing when he said, hey, I've called you to YouTube. Hey, I've called you to write. Hey, I've called you to dance. Hey, I've called you to speak. He knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't wrong. He's never been wrong. And when we let our feelings be in the driver's seat, we're essentially telling God that our inadequacies are bigger than him. And that isn't the case. Our inadequacies, our insecurities are not bigger than the God that has called us. There's this quote that I really love. It says, God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. So yeah, you might not feel like enough. Yeah, you might feel like you have tons of insecurities and inadequacies. Like I'm definitely the president of that club. But that's the point. In our weakness, God is made strong. We're actually supposed to be leaning on him the whole way through anyway. And he can really show himself strong when we just rely on him and trust him and depend on him with all of the things that we feel weak at. One thing that I think is so important to know in this video is that when our feelings are saying things like, you're not enough, you need to be better at this, you don't have the ability, essentially what's happening is we're starting to feel the discomfort of stepping into our calling, or even the thought of stepping into our calling can make all of these insecurities rise up. And that's because the enemy does not want to see you walk in what God's called you to. There are truly so many people that are attached to whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. There's so many people that are attached to what I'm supposed to be doing. But when we focus on our insecurities and our weaknesses, not only are we making them bigger than God, but we're also making them bigger than the other people that we're called to. There are so many people that are waiting on you to be who you're supposed to be, walk in the fullness of your calling, that are attached to whatever it is you're supposed to be doing. And we need to be more others focused. When we make it about us, we're not making it about the people we're called to. And the truth is, it's not about us. It's about God getting the glory, and it's also about the people we're called to. We need to be more others focused, and that's something that I really want to focus on this year, is taking my eyes off myself and putting them on God and on the people that I know are attached to even this YouTube channel, the people that are attached to my social media. I just want to be consistent for them. And for so long, I made it about me, and that was the problem. That was the issue. It's not about me, and it's not about you. So we have to shed those insecurities. Usually when we feel inadequate, it's because we feel like it's too big for us. And that's the point. Whatever God's called us to is supposed to be too big for us so that we could rely on him. If it's something that we feel like we can do ourselves, then we're not dreaming big enough. We're probably not walking whatever it is God's called us to. Usually, when God calls us, it's because there is a God-sized dream that he wants us to walk into, and it requires us leaning on him the whole way. I really hope this video makes you think about what those insecurities are, where those seeds were planted, and makes you do the work to uproot them and take them to God, surrender them to God, and shed them as you're walking forward in what you're supposed to be doing, what you're called to. I want to see you set free. I want to see you be all that God's called you to be. And that's my affirmation for this year. I will be all that God has called me to be. That's really been my affirmation over the last couple of years. But I'm realizing that I'm shedding more and more limiting beliefs as they come up. So, like I said, we're halfway through January. Let's do the work internally so that we can show up externally and really just be confident in what we're called to. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what stuck out to you in this whole video. And thank you just for being here. Bye, guys.